bring in Aisha Waziri Umar, a legal practitioner, social entrepreneur, and former focal person of the Social Investment Program for Borno State. Good to see you, and thanks for your time. We had this conversation then about the list, I recall then, and we were talking about how well to make that list a foolproof and an authentic and genuine list. But today, we're not even talking about lists. We're talking about some other key issues. Now, when this news broke, knowing that you're someone concerned for the well-being of the vulnerable in our society and even in Borno State specifically, how did you first receive the news?
Thank you for having me. Yes, indeed, we have discussed this a few months ago, and as expected, the whole thing has blown up. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised. I think it was an accident waiting to happen.
Why is that? I mean,
why
not surprised? Yes.
Okay, so first and foremost, I have to say that there's still an investigation, so we cannot really jump to conclusions at this stage. But there are things that are very clear and that we all know already, and this is what I can speak about. One thing I know is that we started off with the World Bank program, which had 4 components, and that's the school feeding, the Empower program, conditional cash transfer, and the Growth and Economic Empowerment program. Those are what we started off with. There wasn't a ministry. And over time, a ministry was created, and new programs were introduced that were not part of the World Bank program. And these were usually in form of grants and various programs supposedly targeting those people that would not benefit from the World Bank program, because the World Bank program didn't target everybody. So I think the idea was to introduce programs that would bring more people on board. So to be honest, I think the intention was good. Now, creating a ministry and putting so much resources in the ministry without having a proper organization in the first place, in my opinion, was one of the things that was rushed. And perhaps they should have started small and with fewer, maybe just stick to the original plan, maybe the World Bank, and then gradually add on. But there were agencies that were brought under the ministry. NEMA was brought under the Refugee Commission, Northeast Development. There's one for the elderly or the geriatric. There's quite a few. NAPTIP, the trafficking, quite a few already were now moved to the ministry. Then the World Bank program was brought under the ministry. Then new programs were introduced all at once, right? In my opinion, that was like just too much. You know what I mean? And the time and the resources, huge amount of money, and there wasn't even a structure there. So that was why I said it was an accident waiting to happen. It would have happened to anybody, to be honest.
Why would it happen to anybody if you had good intentions to ensure that systems are in place to ensure that you don't take advantage of any loopholes within the system? I mean, is it a systemic failure that allows for such huge amounts? Because, I mean, based on what you're saying, there's a lot of money involved here. Is that what is, lacking? Or is it poor planning or lack of direction? What are the factors? Why are these social investment programs always falling flat? Okay,
so the thing is, like I said earlier, there are many components. And let's say, for example, you have the Empower, which was one of the and as far as I'm concerned, Empower is extremely successful. So not all of the social investment programs were, let's say, a failure. But in my honest opinion, the cash transfer or the cash, anything backed with cash, in this day and age, that's where I have a problem.
Right.
And I've always felt that the selection process for the beneficiaries, there was always a problem because states felt that they were coming to select from my state, I should have a say. Where the federal felt this is something that is federal money and we're going to choose the beneficiaries. So there was always this friction between us and the federal, for example. Then aside from that, the cost of trying to move money to different states, different local governments, not just even amount of the security needed, the logistics, and like you said, now we have the consultants to try and, what was it now? There was consultancy money, so, and you needed agents. Nobody's talking about that. That's where you have a problem. Who are these agents? Now, the ministry, federal ministry, preferred to pick people they felt they could entrust federal money with, rather than perhaps maybe going through existing processes, or maybe even through the states. Because whether we like it or not, we have states, we have local governments, and they're the ones that are closer to the grassroots. So, but when federal tries to stretch itself and say that they're going to go to local government level, which is what they were trying to do.
So it's not the norm that you would transfer money from government coffers to any individual's account? Or has that always been the culture before the whole Better Edu situation?
Okay, so the way the programs were designed is that there were supposed to be agents. Even the World Bank program had payment agents in it, and they were supposed to sign contracts, and they were supposed to be the ones to make the payments. And the World Bank program was something like 5,000 a month, right? Again, like I said, it was a very cumbersome, very long process, but that was how it was. Now, when the new programs were introduced that were not the World Bank programs, they also brought in the agents as well. And these agents were people that they were giving money to go and distribute. So that's where we had a problem.
No, but let me come in here, because the issues here, you've been working for many, for years before even the ministry came on board. And I recall then our conversation had to do with how to identify these people. There's hardly no community that you can't, recognize or identify some of the vulnerable amongst us. So when this news broke, the first thing that comes to the mind of every Nigerian, even though an investigation is there, we still can talk about it, is who, tries to be so funny with funds for the vulnerable. So how best do you think we can now start to trace? We need to retrace our steps, because you just told us we have a full plate. How best can we start to trace to how it started before the ministry was created, so that we know the best way to actually reach out to these people? Because I still don't understand how 400 million will be for consultancy when we have a lot of people that will be getting less than almost next to nothing at the end of the day.
I think that is something that is an excellent question, because this is where the problem actually lies. The problem lies where we do not sit down to cost and benefits analysis, in my opinion. If you do the cost and benefit analysis, you will find, in my honest opinion, having been in the position of the state, of the receiving states, and having seen how much effort and the resources that go into, first of all, uploading beneficiaries, first of all, even that in itself. Before you do that, right, you would have spent a third of the money, I don't know. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm just speaking off the top of my head. I don't want to be specific, but I know that a lot of money has to be spent just to even identify and upload biometrics, etc. Then you go to stage 2, which is to now move the monies, because it's conditional cash transfer. It's 5,000 a month. That's the World Bank one. So to move the money monthly, you need these agencies back and forth, movement of monies, and that. There's commissions, there's consultancy fees. They're not doing it for free. So by that time, maybe you spend 2/3 of the money. And then if you're lucky, a third of it actually gets to be done. So it was just an exercise that I felt was just that particular one.
So quickly, because I'm sorry to cut you, because I'm almost out of time. The way it is set up now, be honest, because you work with those people, do you think we are set to truly alleviate the pains of Nigerians from the way it is set up, looking at the system that you need a consultant that will take almost everything, and at the end of the day,
there's nothing left for the poor.
I can't get anything.
Okay, so I wouldn't throw the baby with the bath water. What I would do is I would look at each program. For instance, like I said, Empower for me is an excellent program. 30,000 a month, and the beneficiaries are, they go online, direct to a portal, upload their documents. Once they're successful, they give an account number and they get monthly payments. and it's based on, you know, your credentials.
It doesn't look like those who can actually go online and do all of those things are really the poorest of the poor. I mean,
No.
It's
Empower isn't actually. Empower is for job creation.
That's for Empower.
Yes, Empower. So like I said, I wouldn't throw everything away. I would pick the ones that are good. I think Empower is excellent. I think school feeding is excellent. But I don't think it should be in the humanitarian affairs. I think school feeding should be in the Ministry of Education, for example. You know what I mean? So, and then there's growth and economic empowerment. That is supposed to be a loan. And again, I wouldn't go through a ministry and start sending agents to go and give loans. I would go through the Bank of Industry, which was doing it initially, even though they also used agents. But
so, in other words, you'd recommend an unbundling of...
I would unbundle.
You would unbundle.
I would unbundle. It's too much, you know. The ministry wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much.
And by the way, quickly here, sorry, because how are they coping, especially those vulnerable in Borno State, because you're in touch with them daily?
Well, poverty level is increasing. You know, as you know, the inflation is what, 27%, 28%. Food prices, a lot of families are going without food. Some are still waiting for the palliatives that the state governments, even though I know Borno State has done very well. I don't know about other states, but our state is doing well with the distribution of palliatives, which is why I think perhaps it's better to just go through the state governors and try and get them to do it. I know it's working in our states. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Aisha Waziri Umar, former focal person of the Social Investment Program in Borno State. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And all the very best.